everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's in the Tube, where it's our show where we talk or normally review things in the world of television, which normally include episode reviews, season by season reviews, or doing these quick impressions, which normally nowadays is me finishing up a brand new show that I recently watched and giving my quick thoughts about it. Just my general opinion, how did I get into it, would I recommend it, that sort of thing. Today we're going to be talking about Two Broke Girls, which one of my good recent friends has been. So we watched WandaVision together, me and my friend, because she was wanting to catch up before Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness next month. So although it's funny that this is a brief side tangent. It is not meant to be the purpose. You can skip a little bit if you want to. When it was coming to the Disney Plus shows for Marvel, it becomes a question, like, now a year into them, are they really necessary to understand the movies? Since now we're getting to the point where, well, for Doctor Strange 2, do you need to watch WandaVision to understand Wanda's journey? Honestly, the way they're teeing it up is that it's supplemental. It's going to provide you with much better insight and a much more deeper emotional connection if you have watched it. However, because of recent TV spots and recent footage, I'm going to assume, yes, WandaVision is going to matter. So, just to better safe than sorry, we watched the show, and she told me, like, oh, I've seen Kat Dennings before. I was like, and I thought, I was like, oh, you watched her in Thor. I was like, no, she was on a different TV show, a comedy for a few years, called Two Broke Girls. So, I was like, interesting. I've always liked Kat Dennings as a comedic character. So, and she was telling me, like, this was raunchy, this was more like borderline sexual at times. It's really real, and it takes place in New York. So when I was finally going through my new backlog of stuff to watch, since it's been a while, I decided, you know what, I'll put it on there, and I watched it after wrapping up my last show that I was binging for a while. Plus, it's been a while since I got into a comedy. I think the last comedy I binged that was new to me was probably... well, what I mean new is, like, I don't mean like a new show, like a new show, like How I Met Your Father, for example. But I mean like a show that I probably had a passing over the tone of my life, but I just never really got into it until later on. I don't remember what was the last comedy, the last sitcom I watched. But anyway, with this instance, like, so I finally turned it on, and I was very, very surprised at how far they've taken certain jokes. And keep in mind, this show was produced around 2011 to about 2017, and around that time frame. So I was like, some of these jokes, I definitely know they probably were inching past the acceptable rate, because, oh my god, this is probably one of the... okay, let me finish my statement. This is probably one of the raunchiest, one of the most far-out sexualized shows I've ever seen in sitcom. Because I've seen shows like Cheers, How I Met Your Mother. They had borderline joke, but the show wasn't about that. It was about other things going on. This was definitely a show where it's like, there was like half the episode, like, there was always a sex joke. Like, and my style of comedy, it kind of suits that a little bit. It kind of does. So I was like very entertained from the get-go. And I honestly really enjoyed it, like, my time. I don't think it's the best comedy I've ever watched, but it's one of the most consistent ones. And for 6 seasons, it managed to somehow keep me entertained throughout the entire run. And it's hard when it's hard for any comedy, especially nowadays, to kind of keep your attention in, because, as you progress through your own show's version of telling jokes and, bringing out the comedy in some sort of way, you kind of overuse some things, and you kind of have to start recycling things the more you get into it. It's similar to like Family Guy or like The Simpsons, where they've been going on for basically now 2 decades each, and so it's like it gets hard to create new comedic material. And another thing that when it comes to reviewing comedy is that reviewing comedies is not going to be never universally praised, because everyone has their own different style of comedy. There really is. And I'm not surprised by it anymore. Like, my style of comedy that I usually, that for me, I instantly laugh is physical comedy when someone's getting hurt, or just very stupid, dumb comedy. I'm very simplistic. It doesn't take much for me to laugh. And for this show specifically, like, I chuckled a lot throughout the show. There was, like, I think one point in season 6, the last season, and sadly, and I'll get to more about my thoughts on that in a good minute. And I was like very I'm gonna be honest with you. There's only a certain amount of jokes that I can say will make me cry laugh. Where like I'm laughing to the point where I'm crying. It is very rare for shows to do that to me. It's very rare. It has to hit in the right moment. And it's not. Here's another thing about comedy. And I say this like I'm a stand-up comic, or I'm a comedy writer. I'm not. I'm just saying that for me, what sells a delivery, what sells a performance, is that it's different when you script a joke. A joke could be funny on paper, but it depends on who's performing it. It's in the right dialect, in the right tone of mind to tell the joke. And so the joke is, I don't want to spoil any of like the best jokes out there for this show, but there was the joke I'm talking about. Like it's probably like it was for me an overused joke in the history of jokes. At the expense of another beloved character, but it's the dialect and the delivery that was like, this was freaking perfect. The way that they showed it off was like, I love it. I love it so much. I rewatched that joke 5 times in a row, and then I just cried every time. It was just so freaking good. Like my lungs were like dying of like lack of oxygen because I was just crying so much. I was laughing. It was funny as hell. So to get to the actual show itself, like, again, with anything but quick impression, the only thing I'll talk about mildly is the first episode. So if you actually do care about spoilers for the first episode, then sorry about this, but I'm not going to spoil the remaining 130 something of it. So the whole purpose of this show is, the premise is two broke girls is that, so the main theme is that I've seen shows that take place at a bar, at a coffee shop, at another bar. Bars and coffee shops are normally the meeting places for a lot of these sitcoms. Now we're at a diner, which I'm like, okay, yeah, okay. Look, I respect diners, I really do, but like this diner, I would definitely never eat here at all. So the focus on the show is about these two characters, Max and Caroline, who very opposites attract, two polar differences. Max is the street smart, grew up from poverty, had to work from the ground up to get even the little bit she has at the start of the show. And then you have Caroline, who had basically her entire life handed her on a silver platter. And then all of a sudden her dad got incriminated for a ton of financial crimes. So she lost all of her fortune. Her dad's in prison and she's left alone. She has no place to stay. She has no financial income. She has nothing to her name. So for Max, she already works in the diner, and Carolyn works there because literally that's the only job that was willing to take her, because the new owner, Han, wants to bring on some new fresh life, and literally she's the only fresh life you would ever get in the next 6 years. What a cheap ass freaking boss, and I love him. Sorry. And then you have your other diner workers and then eventual subsequent additions to the show as the roster continues. But then you have Oleg, which I'm like, I shouldn't like Oleg on paper. I really shouldn't. But I think he's my favorite. He was definitely my favorite character of this show. Like, he just knows how to perform a line. It's like, I'm so surprised. Like, in 130 episodes plus, he's always coming up with some new sexual joke. And I love it. I really, really do. And honestly, I don't know how to explain it. Like, he's the person you really want to dislike, but you end up liking in the end. I don't know how. I really don't know how. This is a guy I would definitely chill for a day, but nothing more than that. And then you have Earl, who's like the chill, like, grandpa figure. He's been through a lot. He's old, and he's kind of getting ready to clock out, but he's like, nah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna just chill back. Like, this guy's living. Like, all he has to do is just sit down, count some money, and that's basically it. That's his entire retirement life. But whatever you go with there. And then you have Han, who is the new owner of the establishment. He just bought it from the previous owner, and he's trying to 21st century it up, trying to add some new lingo, trying to add some new life into it. It definitely does take a learning curve for him to get through it, and he's very, very short. And I've now, because of the show, have a ton of new short jokes to throw my usual co-host, It's Just George, when I do see him again in person soon. So I'm like, oh, he's definitely not gonna like it, but it is what it is. But the whole crux of the show is that Carolyn just needs something to give her purpose again. Because honestly, I mean, I don't have any relation to it. Like, ever since I started working, I never had some sort of like financial downgrade where like I fell so hard. Maybe not yet. Who knows? Maybe in a few years that will happen to me. So I'll have a better understanding of this. But she has nothing right now. Like, she doesn't. Like, even throughout the first episode, she starts to like realize like she has no place to live. She has no real friends. She has no money. She literally, her entire life is just gone, and she's just struggling to figure out what's next. And I definitely can understand the feeling of it, just the sense of, what do I do now? Like, the only person that ever gave me support is locked away forever, and there's absolutely no one else I could support on. And even Max, who's like, is probably the most brutally honest, very blunt, and very socially um, extroverted, no, introverted human being on the planet. Even she had a bit of heart of a shine in her heart to give her a chance, to give her like a place to live, to give her like some sort of like, I'm not gonna say shoulder. I'm definitely not, but definitely the sense of someone to kind of depend on. I'm not gonna say it's a full dependence. I don't even think by the end of the 6 season run, it's something that's like easily expressed, so to speak. But it's just for me, it's just pretty funny. And by the time the first episode wraps, another thing you gotta know is that Max is an amazing baker. She bakes homemade cupcakes for the diner, and she profits all the money that she would get from the cupcakes, not going to the diner itself. But she's always like, she made like a throwaway comment, like, "Oh, I would love to make a living just selling cupcakes every day." And so Carolyn takes to the idea and like, yes, it's possible. I have some sort of history in finance, not the corrupt side like her father, but she definitely has the inklings of she could run a business if she wants to, but she never had an idea. She's never had a dream to strive for. And here comes Max, and in Carolyn's way, it's like, we both have something the other needs to accomplish this dream, even though Max clearly doesn't want to do this at the get-go. And that's kind of where the journey begins. And the whole joke of the whole run is that they're basically broke. They're always poor. They're always in the poor class. They barely ever have moments where they're not in the poor class, and it's pretty funny. I know there was one episode. Okay, I said like I wasn't gonna go beyond episode 1 in terms of like spoilers, but I have to mention this. In the first season, Carolyn praised on how amazing sushi is, which ironically I'm gonna have tomorrow after this recording day, and first of all, she bought sushi from a gas station, and I'm thinking to myself, you don't get authentic Japanese cuisine from a freaking place that literally people touch gas with, or it's probably not the cleanest place, or like I don't know how to say it anymore, but it was not the smartest thing. It really wasn't. I don't even know where I was going with that. But the show at times, as it kept going forward, they definitely were. I was very intrigued on how brutally honest the world was. And yeah, to keep in mind, there were some extravagant things, because it is a TV show, it's a sitcom, so there were some things that were going to be very over exaggerated, stuff that would never happen in our world, or rarely was to happen. But you do have the moments like, they had their business have moments of success and moments of failure, but that's how most businesses are. Like, it's very difficult to run something, especially nowadays where there's just so much competition. Like, I think if you had the inkling many years ago and you were able to like make it possible, you should have, because right now it is so competitive, this business, this market. It's not just owning a store anymore. You can sell your stuff online, skip the retail space cost, just fully profit on whatever household you're in. So there's a lot of benefits and advantages. Again, it's so difficult, especially with their show taking place in the 21st century, more in the 2010s, midway through, that we were getting to that point as a world with technology and social media and stuff like that, where it was possible that a lot of businesses didn't need physical locations. I don't remember if they actually tackled onto that problem, so to speak, in the show. From what I remember, I know there was like a joke where I think there was a cupcake machine at some point, and I was like thinking of We Bare Bears for some weird reason. God, I love that show so much. Have I talked about it yet on the show? I don't know yet. I'll find out later. But But as the show progressed, I think honestly the show got better with age, which is very uncommon for me to say about a comedy, because normally comedies tend to like have that peak moment and then start to go down as the longer you go for it. I would say, yeah, season 6, the last season, was kind of a bit weird. It kind of felt like the season 4 that the show didn't have, like in terms of like the season 4 mid-step that a lot of shows tend to have, where they try to rebrand the show with a new set, a new look, new jokes, new characters, new avenues of problems, and it doesn't really sell as well as how the show originally started. I will say season 6 had some elements of that. It wasn't too crazy. I still enjoyed the show as much as I mentioned before. Like, the best joke of the entire series came from season 6, in my opinion. But I will admit that, yeah, there was like, even like throughout like some of the middle seasons and even some parts of the earlier seasons, that I wasn't really. It's a comedy, so it's like there are episodes where like you're not gonna feel like it's the best, and you feel like it's kind of skippable, in my opinion. I mean, I'm always surprised at what they were able to do during the show, and also as well as what type of jokes they were able to like kind of get away with or kind of perform as the series performed on. Some which again I won't even try to replicate that because I'll just end up butchering it for the life of me. But my main disappointment when it came is that I got to season 6 and I found out that was the last season. So I was thinking to myself, okay, well, hopefully they were aware of it ahead of time and they were able to kind of write kind of like a very okay ending. Like, it wasn't the ending they wished they would have gotten, but definitely it was something that it's passable for us to like believe that this was the end. Maybe you can get a revival and finish it up down the road, but this was a very okay end. In my opinion, with this ending, like the ending of this show, I won't give any sort of spoilers, but I wasn't really like satisfied. This wasn't like that something that was tied with a bow. It definitely let a lot of opportunities go. I could imagine them just. It's like life. Like, life keeps going. Like I said this with the Big Bang Theory when I did that quick impressions like many years ago, that the show was so typical in terms of just life and the environment that it was kind of hard to put like a firm ending on it. Like, how do you tie it up like in the ways that we expected were in that show's case, like everyone having families, everyone having their happy endings. It seemed like no, their lives were going to keep going on, where like life just doesn't end when the TV show ends. Like, there are more things for you to keep going and there's more things to see and do, that it's really hard to place like an endpoint on that. And that's kind of how the same thing with Two Broke Girls could have been had it kept going on a little longer, where I don't think you would have ever gotten to the point where the show was just done. Like, the characters are going to keep going and keep existing in this world and probably get into more shenanigans together as like this very weird dysfunctional family. But I felt very much bummed when the last season rolled, and it was like, that was a funny way to end the show, but it definitely did not feel like an ending. It definitely didn't. I know CBS, was it CBS? I think it was CBS. They canceled the show because there was just a bunch of new comedies coming out and they needed to clear space, which, look, I get that. The ratings were on the decline. Well, every show's on the decline with ratings. Like, it's very hard to avoid that decline, but I was very disappointed by it that Two Broke Girls didn't at least get some sort of like 7th season to resolve everything. I would have taken like Netflix just taking the show over for one season just to wrap it up. Hell, they can still do that. I mean, it's been 5 years since the show wrapped. I'm pretty sure the cast would like love to do like a very quick revival season just to wrap it up or just see where it goes. I mean, I would enjoy that. I really would. I know the actors have all moved on and they're on to do different projects, which that's another great thing. I'm happy that everyone has found work after the fact, that they're still in business and they're still doing talent, that they're still doing work. I'm happy about that. It just sucks that I always hate it when shows like they never have a proper ending. I really do, because it's not fair. Like, if you put on the show on the air for 6 seasons, I know it costs money, but nowadays isn't it more complete to kind of just finish your story and kind of just then leave it closed with a bow and a wrap and kind of call it a day? Leaving it kind of half open for more is something that I'm not really. It's kind of like Full House. When Full House ended, like the season 8 finale, it felt like a spiritual finale. Like, I could imagine that this felt like some sort of like story coming to a close type of feel, but they definitely left the room of like, we could tell even more stories. But again, maybe I'm hopeful that maybe Two Broke Girls will come back one day at some form, in some iteration, and, you know, we'll finish up its story or maybe tell a new story. Who the heck knows? The world of television is very weird. Revivals are always a must, and it's always like a common factor nowadays. Like, what can we bring back next? And it's only a matter of time before a show from that ended in 2017 will come back at some point in the 2020s. But we'll see. But for me, I really, really enjoy Two Broke Girls. It's a very delightful comedy. It's a very raunchy comedy at times, and I love the style of comedy they were trying to present it. I would absolutely love to rewatch this someday, just like for a clearer perspective and just see if all the jokes still hit after all this time, and see how it goes. So for me, I would really highly recommend Two Broke Girls, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed it as well. All I'm going to say is that some jokes you're going to really baffle yourself on how they even got on the air, because I don't even know. And this is the modern day, so I imagine they would have went through tons of censors and tons of watch committees and all that sort. So it's hilarious. But yeah, so you can find all the episodes of Two Broke Girls only on Roku, which was free. Well, I think it was free for me. I don't know what I did. Was it? Is Roku free? I should have really done my research on Roku at some point before this episode, but it's free. You can go watch the entire show for free, so you really have no excuse. So that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, let me know in the comments below, what did you think of Two Broke Girls? If you have watched it, let's talk about it. I talked about it to death with my friend already, but I'm still dying to talk about it for more. But yeah, let me know in the comments below. Let's talk. But again, this has been What's in the Tube from ActionX. I'm talking about my quick impressions on Two Broke Girls. If you want to know what we're doing normally, What's in the Tube, besides our quick impressions, we're currently doing Rookie and Walker episode reviews each and every week after a brand new episode on the CW and ABC's on on Thursday and Sunday nights respectively. So go check out our reviews for that. We post other quick impressions, so if you're interested in me talking about random shows, there's a bunch out there. But then also, we have another channel called The Collection Compass. Go check that out if you want to as well. It's a lot of fun. It's all about the world of collectibles, Funko Pops, toys, DVDs, Blu-ray, Steelbooks, everything under the sun. So go check it out there as well. And yeah. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet to youtube.com/ActionXvideos. Ring that bell for notifications when our next episode review is live, generally for What's on the Tube. And please also share this review if you want to. Follow us on social media to stay up to date with any sort of updates we may have for the channel. But until then, until we see each other again, in terms of Two Broke Girls, I would love to do a season by season breakdown of this, or do a definitive series overview. We'll see how it goes. We'll see. The door's open for anything. I would love to find any excuse to see the show again. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And as always, peace out.